What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Propping Up on Gold Boys Network. I'm GriffyBets, joined by WallaBets here, brought to you by Pickett. If you're not on Pickett, I'm not sure what you're waiting for. Helps you find the best lines, see what your friends are on, track your own bankroll, which is very important here. If you're scrambling for a New Year's resolution still, I think being a more responsible bettor would be a good start. Thanks to Pickett. How are you doing, Walla? I'm doing okay over here myself.
Yeah, all right. Had a couple losing days, but they've been manageable. Losses, couple guys coming up a little short, and I feel like I'm right there to turn it around. So I like something off the bat last night. They've been putting out these lines, uh, you know, the night before now. It's been interesting adjusting to that. Finding researching around midnight for me instead of waking up and starting. So it's been interesting, but I'm excited today.
Yeah, I did. I was, just about head hit the pillow, ready to call it a night. And the last thing I see before I put my phone on Do Not Disturb is WallaBet saying lines are up already. I'm like, no, it's sleepy time for me. But I do like that. I feel like baseball is very big with that. That's how you get the best prices, those 1, 2 a.m. props. So if that stays more consistent, maybe I need to rearrange my sleep schedule a little bit.
Yeah, and now it's funny. I did that the other night, and I played Hayes right away, which ended up going crazy. That line it went all the way up to like minus 192. I think I saw before the game, but and I played Jones. And those two plays hit for me yesterday, and then everything I put in, like, actually yesterday didn't come through. So, maybe I'll just, start riding with my midnight thoughts more more frequently.
Yeah, I got to figure it out on my end a little bit. We were walking through it before we went live. Um, every play that I did not play that's written down from yesterday basically won while I had
Yeah, that's
another poor night. So I'm not sure. Maybe I need to reassess what I'm bringing to the finish line. But in some cases, it just seems like a couple things aren't breaking our way. So try not to overthink myself too much here out of the funk. Just get through it and hopefully have a nice run on the other side. So
yeah,
I would,
you listed, that those props, and that was amazing. You very easily would have had a green knight if you had just fired away on every single thing, so
just another reason, if you don't have a pen and paper yet, you should grab one because we're going to be firing off some names that look good that we're inevitably not going to play. Um, so
it's
let's
hard to
jump
play
it.
everything.
It is. Um, First game, I think, should be a good one. Pittsburgh, Ottawa. I think there's merit to shots on both ends. I think big news, if in case you missed it, Josh Norris is back tonight, forming a pretty nice looking top six for Ottawa. Top line is Stutzel, Kachuk, Batherson. Second line, DeBrincat, Norris, and Giroux. So I'm excited to see how that works. It made me guys like Batherson and Stutzel kind of stood out to me right away. So I'm just glad to see that line isn't moving around. So it doesn't scare me too much off what they've been doing recently just because Norris is back. But excited to see how he looks because he was one of our favorites last year.
Oh, he was he was so awesome for us last year, and it was almost just like if you would just look at the matchup he was in, and if the team has been letting up 3 plus penalties in like a game, he just seemed like just automatic. He would go into a power play with 0 shots and leave it with 4. Um,
I
he was
know. And he was ripping. He had a stretch there where I think he scored like 8 of 10 games or something, and most of them were
awesome.
on the power play.
Yeah.
Um, it'll be interesting. It looks like, at least on left wing lock, they're projecting him to be on the second power play unit tonight. Kind of too early to tell for sure. And I think it's best to stay off of him. I think the only prop currently available is his goal anyway. Let him get his sea legs back, but definitely going to be interested in some Norris props in the future.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bet it, but if he scores on the power play, I'll be so happy. just just seeing that come back if they get on a power play, just seeing it pop up Josh Norris goal or something, because that was awesome. So glad to see him back. But yeah, this game looks pretty good. Just a couple guys who I think looked good today. Uh, I locked in one last night. I know you're using him in a parlay, and he's actually going to be our picket play of the day. So, we'll circle back to talking about it more. But it was Lincoln Chabot. I think it's a good spot for him.
Yeah, I like the Pittsburgh good target for defensemen and his nice history against them. But we can highlight him a little more at the tail end of the show. On the topic of Love and Norris, when power play chances come up, this would be a game on paper. Ottawa should see a couple opportunities there. I think we talked about it Monday. Teams are definitely tightening up a bit with penalties. When you look at last 10, teams that fall in the top 10, top 12, those numbers are going down. So I have adjusted what makes a good target for me at the moment. And that Pittsburgh is right on the cusp there with averaging 3.2 power play opportunities allowed in the last 10. So guys like, Kachuk, DeBrincat, Stutzel, Chabot all stand to benefit from a couple of those opportunities. I think Batherson deserves a shout out here because him at home is just crazy. His line's 2.5. He's gone over that in 8 of 11 at home, but he's got 4 in 7 of those 8 hits. So I really like seeing him just fly over at home. And he's had some big games against Pittsburgh, 4 and 6 in his last 2.
Last game ending on 3 is wow. Well, over 10 games ago, when he's hit recently, it's been like 4+ every time, like you're saying, at home. But just in general, it's been a while since he's even ended on 3 shots. So
It's crazy.
yeah.
I don't hate if you wanted to just play him straight at 4. Maybe do a half unit, 3/4 unit bet on that. But he's hit that in 2 straight against Pittsburgh and loves to do it at home. I also like that last game at St. Louis, he only had 2 attempts, which might scare you off. But when you look back on his attempt chart, seems like the last couple times he's been quieted like that, he's bounced back with a big game. So I like him to do it again tonight.
Yeah, that's really nice. Hopefully we get alternate lines and at a reasonable time. I think yesterday actually some did pop up, but it was like close to game time. I know one of my friends was like, "Oh, this ticket almost hit," and I was like, "What the heck? None of those lines were there when I had looked." So they must have dropped them pretty late. Uh, I would like that at 4, and at 2.5 -140, depending on what you like to do for straight plays. I might consider putting him with something, but he's right on the cusp there at -140. Uh, yeah, he can definitely get off some big games, and um, with Norris on the second power play line, I mean, it's what we're seeing now. Uh, then he should still, get his shots on the power play, and that should, and I wouldn't imagine it changed too much. But if Norris does somehow get on that top line, then maybe it becomes a little murkier. But if he's still on the top power play unit without Norris, I think he gets his chances against Pittsburgh.
I do want to highlight there's no line for him yet, but keep Tim Stutzel on your radar. If he does, maybe he's on Prize Picks or some of these offshore books. But at home, he's hit 3 and 5 of 6. His attempts are rock solid, basically 6.5. And last game on the road, he had 6 shots. I mean, been very steady and seems like a guy who, if he could become listed, would be around plus money. I was hoping to see a line for him, and it's not up yet. So, poke around to see if you can find a Stutzel line. I would play that straight if it was around even money, 2.5. You can find it.
Yeah, his goal looks good too.
Mm-hmm.
Scoring quite a bit, and You're talking about his line. It's funny. He was a guy earlier in the season when he started heating up. We are like, "Where's his line? Where's his line?" And then we got it, and I think he got injured in like 2 minutes of ice time in that game, and they just haven't brought his line back. And of course, now he's hitting it every a bunch of games and looks really good. But yeah, he's been scoring, and he's on that power play. So if he's shooting a bunch, wouldn't be surprised to see his name pop up again.
And then just an obvious name, I feel like people would ask if we don't bring it up. Brady Kachuk at home is obviously as consistent as they come. I'm sure you probably were too. I was just a little sketched out that the last two times he's played the Penguins at home, he's ended with one both times. I feel like we ignore that when we want, like yesterday with Yossi, and then it comes back to bite us. So I tend to listen to that when I see it. So I'm going to stay off Kachuk tonight.
Yeah, so true. Yossi, that was my in the back of my head was just like, why doesn't he hit against Columbus? But it's such a great matchup, and then he didn't hit. So, no, that's a good thing to mention. But there are quite a few guys who look good here.
I like Pittsburgh for shots too. I mean, Ottawa lets up last 10 games are about 33 at home. Um, one guy, I think I brought him up Monday because I did end up playing him. Malkin's volume has been great lately. They dropped him back to 2.5, even though he just hit a 3.5 line. He's got 5+ in 3 of his last 4, 6, 7, and 5 in those games. So that's, I'm just quick math. Last 4 games, 19 shots on goal on 32 attempts. So that's some ridiculous volume. He's got 5 in 2 of his last 3 against Ottawa. Another guy that maybe you look at with an alternate line, but I like that 2.5. I kind of did a same game parlay for this game, and he's in it.
Yeah, I think the 3.5 line was just strictly because it was a matchup against Anaheim.
Yeah.
So now he's just back down to his 2.5 line, which I'm not saying anything against your play. I like this a lot. His volume's awesome. I think it's just last game. It was just like, the books just were like, oh crap, Ducks put him up at 3.5. And it didn't matter. So now he's back down at 2.5. Ottawa is for the season kind of in the middle for shots allowed. So I think that's back down to his 2.5 line makes sense, and -140 is a pretty reasonable price there. And his volume, like you said, is just crazy. So that's a really good look on the Penguin side.
I also like Crosby, just to kind of put a bow on. I did a 4-leg same game parlay. Came in at plus 950. Chabot, Batherson, Malkin, and Crosby is the last leg. I was just poking around Pittsburgh. Crosby is much more consistent shooting on the road. Sure, he's only hitting 5 of his last 10, but all those misses have 2 shots, and his attempts just jump up about 2 per game lately on the road. But it was his history against Ottawa, I just could not ignore. The last 25 games, he's got 3+ in 21 of them. A lot of those times he was not landed on 3 either. Some massive games. So I just, one of those game logs that I think I like make an audible noise. Like when I see, I'm like, oh, wow. All right, then. So I'm just going to load him up as well.
I like that. That reminds me of just when that show when we talked about Sagan, just it didn't nothing mattered except was I just looked at his chart and I was like, oh, he hit against Chicago in like 28 of 30 games, and sure enough, he had like a big game. So sometimes you got to go with your gut. And yeah, that's impressive. 21 out of 25 there. So sometimes these matchups they just guys show up for
him. Anything else in this one?
No, I think that's like the main guy I like on the Pittsburgh side was Malkin. So that you covered him pretty well. I think his volume's great, and later in the show we'll come back and talk a little bit more about Chabot.
Cool. Um, Boston, New York Islanders is next. I don't know if I'm going to have a play in this game, but I do. I think you could look shots on both ends just because of how often these teams shoot, but both are pretty stingy. So it doesn't have me that excited. I mean, Brock Nelson at home, he's hitting far more than not. He might just be like a guy I just set and forget for a long time at home. I wish he had better history against Boston, but I'm considering letting him ride.
What's what's Boston's power play opportunities looking like lately? Because on the season, you see a 3.5 allowed a game, and when you see something like that, and then Brock Nelson at home, which is a nice, he's nice there. You could think he got some chances on the power play if they're given the opportunities.
Yeah, they're at 2.8 in the last 10.
What he's dropping.
I'm curious if that changes based on location. I haven't really looked at that too much. No, they're pretty tight. But I mean, even two, three chances, I mean, it's going to help Brock. So
Yeah.
he's just so steady at home. The volume is insane. I mean, he's averaging 8 attempts per game in his last five at home. I don't know, minus 118, pretty reasonable. He had
Yeah, that'd be who I would look at if I had to go on that side. Um, I like you said, you don't like that history against Boston, but you can't always rely on it. Even though we're just talking about the history of was it Crosby, but he if he gets those power play chances, I think that's really what's going to do it for him. I think if I'm looking at this game, I know he didn't come through last game, but Pasternak looks good. Uh, he had 7 last time out against the Islanders. He's 2 of 4 the last 4 against them. Yeah, he's just the most trustworthy guy. I think if you're looking for shots, that's probably where I'd look at them. That's because of the minus 106. Seeing him there is always makes you kind of go ooh, because he has that 4.5 line all the time, and oftentimes it's you know we see like minus 130 and stuff like that for him. So seeing him close to even money, he's done well against them. Uh, if I had to choose, I would go there, but it's not something I've done, not yet. So
I almost wonder if a guy like Pasta, I think this would stretch out to someone like McDavid too. If you're gonna bet his shots, just bet his goal too. Like maybe do a half unit on both because they're so correlated this year. I mean,
mhm.
you even just look at Pasta's last couple games. He has so many goals lately, and even in games he doesn't hit his shots. So
Look at his last 3 away games. 3-2-2.
yeah, and 5, 7, 8. I mean, shots.
Mhm.
Obviously, shots and goals are correlated, maybe less so with guys like defensemen, but someone like Pasta and Varlamov is in net for the Islanders, who does not scare me nearly as much. Um, last two games he's had against Boston, he's let in 9 goals. So it does make me like Boston a little bit more on the points and goals angle than it did this morning before I knew he was in net. But I mean,
Nice.
Pasta basically even money for shots in a goal. You put half a unit on both. You could win both. You could split, or at worst, you're down a unit. I don't know.
That's fair. That is fair because yeah, I mean, you just look through his game log. He scores so often. Yeah, you're missing out on a lot if you're only going one way for him. So that's nice knowing if the goalie is in because that's 9 goals in the last 2. You said last 2 meetings.
Yes, and one of those was a couple weeks ago. He led up three to them, basically a month ago, and then six in last March.
Okay, yeah. So that's interesting. Definitely taking a look there. Pasta would be the guy. It's pretty obvious, but still always worth saying, especially when it's not crazy juiced.
I do, you're probably thinking it too. Taylor Hall against the Islanders stood out this morning. Guy loves playing New York. Last four games, he went under in December this year, but last year 4, 7, and 6 shots. And I believe whether you put weight into positional data or not, I think I saw that the one spot that the Islanders are pretty generous is to the wing, and that's where Hall is. So plus
Yeah,
108 is
I can't
intriguing.
get behind his production lately. I understand that angle. I can't make the plunge personally.
No, yeah, that was my navigation as well. Was this looks good, and then you look at whether it's recent games or it's recent on the road. Say, oh, a lot of 2 attempt games in there.
Yep.
Anything else in this one?
Nah, I wasn't particularly like super excited about that game. I think there's other angles that look good today.
Yeah, I think Colorado Calgary is going to be an awesome game. One I just want to watch. Um, Two teams that really need to start pulling ahead in the Western Conference, so plenty of motivation on both ends. Do you have a favorite look here?
I yeah, I'm on the fence with one of them, even though I do like a lot of the trends behind it. There's a lot of people already uh playing it and posting it, and I get it. McKinnon, um, he's had a lot of big games against the Flames. It's hard to ignore. The last meeting this season, he had 3 shots. So, uh, yeah, that's their most recent matchup. So if you want to put more weight into that, um, and this season's stats, then the price starts to make sense to you. Where typically he's better at home than on the road. Calgary is just tight to shots at home. And he did go under against them last time. So I know people like you see that plus 100, and you're just like, why? Well, those are probably the reasons why. We were talking before the show, and I was like, well, Calgary, on the season, you look and it's like they're allowing over 3 power play opportunities a game. I was like, that's great for McKinnon. And again, just over the last 10, there's a drop. It seems like teams are tightening up lately. It's not to say it can't happen in this matchup because they've had, um, you know, in the past you see them having high scoring games, but that's all weighing into I think why you're seeing plus 100 for him. Um, but it is tempting. It's tempting. Even his goal, he scored. He has crazy numbers goals against them, um, and I do think that even if Calgary's power play numbers are down, if you give 2 to the Avalanche, McKinnon can get some damage done, whether it's shots or scoring again. So I totally understand the look, but that there's a lot of factors why that price is at plus 100, um, and maybe why I guess I'm taking a little pause on it.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said. I don't think I can play it. I just I like another guy in Colorado because he's at 2.5. I just 5 shots feels like a lot to bet against a team like Calgary that just doesn't let up a ton. It's hard for me to back on when I'm trying to tighten up my own process. So I'm sure he'll end with like 10 shots and a hat trick, but I can't do it.
Yeah, it is a nice trend though. And at even money, it's on my my list of everything I have written down today. So wanted to start with that one, but why don't you talk about the guy you like a little bit?
Um, I'm intrigued by Val Nichushkin, who's back. Pretty reasonable, minus 135. I don't know. I'm kind of a sucker for these big name players in their second game back. Let them kind of get the cobwebs off in their first one and then just ramp up here. And I mean, Val even did pretty well in that first game on Monday against Detroit, 4 shots on 5 attempts. And he's had some nice success against Calgary, over in 3 straight. And he's also scored 3 goals in his last two, which sometimes I just like to think, I don't know, I could be making up my own narrative, but a player who's had some goal scoring success against a team might, I don't know, just feel a little more confident letting it rip. and it's a massive game. So this is not a price that we're typically going to get on Nichushkin. He'll be 3.5 again sooner before later. So I like it here.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Somebody in chat just said LaMelo is going for a triple double tonight. He told me, and thank him later. And that's good advice on our hockey show.
Yeah, thank you.
No, that's funny. All right, everybody knows that was Jonathan in the chat. So, all right. Anyway, back to this. Yeah, I like Nichushkin. He was great at that 2.5 line. He was a kind of a staple in parlays last year at that line. And I know Calgary's tight to shots, but as you said, 3 just seems like a more manageable number than 5. Makes you feel a little bit better. But yeah, he did not look too rusty. He was shooting out there, and that's what we like him for. So
Yeah, I don't hate a sprinkle on his goal at plus 230, but I do have the shots written down. I'm just not sure if I want to play that straight or maybe pair it with something else that we'll get to. First play I put in, maybe my favorite read of the day is Kadri shots. Um, just one of those examples. I feel like you talked about it a lot on the show. Just trying to find a guy who's ramping up his volume and follow it. That's certainly Kadri lately. Last 2 games, 10 shots on goal on 15 attempts. And when you go over to home, he might not be that consistent. His last 5 games, he's missed in 3 straight with 3 each time. The 2 before that, he had 6. His attempts are just topping the team at home. And he leads them in power play shots against Colorado, who has struggled there. His last 2 big games, he's had over 4 minutes of power play ice time both times, which I have to imagine has contributed to him hitting. And it doesn't hurt that it's his former team. I know he laid a goose egg against them, but that was also October 13th. And it's
and
a big
what's
game.
funny? I'm looking at that chart where he had the 0 against them. Is that his only? That's his only 0.
Well, yeah, he was
Season.
on them. Oh, this is only 0.
Yeah, or maybe there's one other the first game he had 0 shots on goal. But yeah, so he's
I
not
think that
hitting
was
0.
Colorado.
Oh, that was the one, the first game.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he had a 0 with 2 shots and then just blew up on attempts right after that game. And then same thing the next time he had 0 shots. But I think he's gonna be thinking about that. I mean, he didn't get a nice debut against his old team. Now that there's way more season gone by, more comfort with the new team and those attempts the last couple games, yeah, I could see that him using that momentum in the rematch.
And I think this is why I'm just so frustrated that 1, FanDuel is the only one giving us alts, and 2, they're just so inconsistent. I hate being held hostage. Like if alts were open right away, I'm probably looking at Kadri for 3 with something, because at 3.5 at home, he hits at 48%. You bump that down 1, it goes to 71%. So whenever those do open, I can't imagine they don't for a big marketable game like this. I think Kadri 3 with something, maybe Stamkos could be a good combo. But I like him to get 4 at minus 102. And I also bet him to score.
Yeah, I think it's a nice kind of storm brewing, like you're saying. Just things are ramping up and coming into this matchup. It could just align for him, and he gets that nice game against his former team. I was looking at the same side in this game too. Another look in this game besides on the Colorado side, I like Toffoli here on Calgary. He's been, I mean, he has I mentioned it, the floor. He hits 2 shots in 82% of his games. So you can take some comfort in knowing that he's pretty steady getting off a couple. And in this particular matchup, he's hit 3 shots in 4 of his last 6 meetings. He's been looking good the last 5 games, over in 4 of his last 5. Huge attempts last game. And before the last show, I just mentioned how I liked him um, going into that matchup against Nashville because I look at it as a team that can give up power play opportunities. And Nashville can. I'm not even just thinking about exactly what happened in that game. Just my thought process, where Nashville can always kind of put some pressure if they need to, and Colorado definitely can put pressure. So I just think if Toffoli can get those the chances again. Saw last game 11 attempts and he got I don't know what he ended with, 5 on goal. So just like in this spot again, I think he has some good momentum riding right now, and I I imagine he's going to try to keep that rolling. He had the last 2 meetings against Colorado, he scored a power play goal. So yeah, he's found success in that aspect against them. So keep it rolling today. I like him again.
Yeah, no, I like him too. I also think his point looks pretty consistent. Um, but yeah, I would agree with your main draw being that the power play chances, and you look back on props that cash, you can look at how recent positions have done against the team, forward or defenseman, and you just look at forwards against Colorado, and the usual suspects who lead their team in power play shots have had some very big games against Colorado recently. I'm seeing 6, 7 shots with some of these guys. So I think Toffoli could have a big game. He had nice success against them last year.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking. I mean, I don't dislike the Kadri look because of the same reasoning. You brought up how he leads Calgary on the power play shots. So, yeah, very good look there as well. Um, I'm just riding with Toffoli. I think when he gets a nice matchup like that, he could come through. And I like your point look too, because as I mentioned, he's uh, scored in the last 2 against them on the power play. So maybe you could really take a risk there. He's plus what 225 for a power play point, but he has points in 7 of his last 10, and that's at minus 150. So that's not bad either.
Yeah, I might dabble in the power play goal market today. Calgary to score power play goals minus 125 on Barstool. Um, it's half a volume thing with how many penalties Colorado has, but also their penalty kill has not been great. And you just look at recent games, they've had some scrappy, lot of penalties and teams scoring power play goals. I mean, Calgary's got 4 power play goals in their last 4 against Colorado, and Colorado has 5. So maybe even over 1.5 power play goals in this, which was plus 110. I don't hate. So I might test out that market today.
Yeah, it's a good matchup for that.
Anything else here before we move on?
Uh, no. If you I saw. I don't know if people are familiar with him, Prop Kitchen on Twitter. He brought up an under, and it's pretty tempting. Just looking at it, Lindholm, this guy is just not shooting like he was earlier on in the season. The volume, it's come up a little bit the last couple games, but he still has only hit once. Just found that pretty interesting. Really just fell off with his volume. I don't know if anybody does unders out there. We don't talk about them often. Uh, but there's definitely some value in some of these guys. That one just he has a really bad looking chart for his over line.
Yeah, I did see that. Big fan of Props Kitchen, good vibes. Worth a follow. I'm rooting for him, but I did, when I saw that, I don't know. I'm seeing Lindholm with he's had a ton of 2-1 attempt games, and then all of a sudden he's got 12 in his past 2 games. So that seems to me to be a shift in volume that I don't want to test with an under tonight. But I get
Yeah,
it.
that's understandable. Definitely. I just wanted to bring that one up. we definitely do not pay enough attention to unders on this show. So apologies to anybody who likes that angle.
Let me just throw out something that'll hit tonight because I bet it's a failure, complete failure on Monday. Someone should load up a Hannafin and Rasmus Anderson shot parlay because I did it last game and they both got one, but they're both still at 1.5. Colorado's a great target for defenseman shots. Hannafin's 4 of his last 4, and Anderson's 3 straight against Colorado. So that's definitely going to hit because I failed on it on Monday. I should probably bet it again, but I'm done. So
Yeah, we didn't do that with Connor. We were all like hyped up Connor against the Coyotes. Let's get his 200th goal. And I know a bunch of people were on his shots. And then the very next game, he hits his shots and scores that goal. So not terrible advice.
yeah, that will hit tonight, and I will say, damn, I knew it. I'm an idiot. I'll send that in around 11 p.m. probably.
I'll put that on my calendar for today.
All right, got a couple 10 p.m. games that look good. I hate when I like the 10 p.m. games the most. Tampa, Vancouver. I love Tampa for scoring. Obviously, I mean Vancouver's just been Swiss cheese for the whole year, I guess, but letting up 4.1 at home in their last 10. They just met a couple weeks ago. It was a 5-4 game for Tampa. I think Tampa's got 4 plus goals in 6 of their last 8. And I'm just a massive power play edge. If Tampa can't score a power play goal here, I'm going to really question these numbers a little bit. I definitely expect them to. I grabbed their team total at minus 115. I think a lot of people are going to be on Stamkos goal tonight as he tries to get 500 again. I'll just let other people celebrate that. I just want to root on goals here. But obviously he looks good. I mean, history against Vancouver is awesome.
Yeah, and the narrative had been like, oh, he's looking for that goal, so people are playing the goal and playing the shots. And I mean, with the volume, looking at it now, it's like now that's really, I think it's becoming more of an appropriate look. He really is shooting. The chart is just literally a ramp going up. It starts at 3, 4, 4, 5, 7, 9. Then there's a little 6 in there, and then 12. So it's climbing. And this is a good matchup. He had 7 shots last meeting, 5 shots the meeting before that. Definitely liking his shots as a parlay piece today.
Oh yeah,
use that with something 100%.
Yeah, I might do Stamkos with Nichushkin shots that just talking about looks like that's plus 175 on Caesars. But yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with Stamkos today. It's clear 500 is on his mind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, obviously, he always wants it, but it's just like if you're gonna be talking that narrative, this is like it's on. He's got 12 attempts, 11 attempts. You look at his season, and it wasn't very. There are big games in there, but you see a lot of down, lower games, and starting lately to really, he's hit that high point, and it's kind of staying there. So I could see this being a game where that goal could happen. It is a plus 140 I'm seeing. Not a bad price at all. If you're hoping for it to happen today, the volume is appropriate.
And I am so bullish on Lightning goals. This could be another they're up 4-2 in the third. Vancouver starts pulling the goalie and they just try to get Stamkos' 500th with an empty net. I mean, I know he had a couple attempts. What was it? I don't know, 1 or 2 games ago, and I think someone just dove in front of an empty net and screwed him out of scoring.
You should dabble on last goal scorer.
That could be a fun one.
Right? If everybody's rooting for his goal all game and it's approaching the end of the game and they're still rooting for their plus 140, and then you're just like, you're creeping up there in the background with like this plus 1,000 ticket. Like, all right, here we go.
Damn, I don't hate that. Seems like a fun one.
If you like that, if you like that angle, if they're trying to feed him it and they're up, it's interesting. I have to actually uh Twitter handle is LT Reese Dangle. You
Hmm.
know, we talked with him in chat, and he had actually mentioned that, a couple weeks back with Ovechkin, how he was every once in a while sprinkling on that last goal scorer for him just because he can get those empty nets, and he was also looking for milestones. So credit to him. But yeah, if you like that that Tampa's going to be up, they might have a lead and try to get Stamkos that goal. Could be a fun little sprinkle on that one.
Um,
If it hits, I'm gonna totally be like, "Oh yeah, I'm awesome," but
no,
no,
I like it. I could throw $5 on something like that. Biggest downside being I might have fallen asleep.
that'd
Uh,
be a hell of a thing to wake up to.
it would. I do want to stick with the belief of Tampa scoring for a second. I think I'm going to pair this with Toffoli point. I think Brandon Hagel point looks awesome. I'm not sure if you saw that this morning, but Hagel's on power play line one and he's on the top line with Point and Kucherov. I mean, he's got a point in 8 of his last 10, 11 total on the road, very steady as well with 6 points in his last five. He had 2 points against Vancouver 6 days ago. So I like him to stay involved here in a game. I think they reach 4 or 5 pretty easily. So he's minus 160, but I might do him with Toffoli.
Yeah, I like that. That's that's really nice looking. He's been racking up these points lately. Some multi-point games, like you said, one against Vancouver. He had a goal and an assist, which assist is at plus 122. He's hit that in 6 of his last 7,
Hmm.
and goal at 225, which he has a goal in 2 of his last 3. So, um, yeah, hard to lean one way or the other. So you can use the point in a parlay there. It is at minus 160, so that makes it, tough to play alone. But yeah, he's definitely producing right now.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
he is shooting. I mean, if he had a
wow,
shot on goal line, it would look pretty
I
good.
just brought that chart up. If he was available, it's real nice at the 2.5. If he was plus money at 2.5, could definitely be worth a look. He's hit that in 8 of his last 10. Um, volume over his last 10, it for averages out to 4.4, but he had some big games in there, dropping a little bit recently, but seems efficient with his shots, getting 3 on net even when he has 4 attempts.
I'd also float out there, if you're so passionate that tonight is Stamkos's night, it could happen on the power play. But if it happens 5 on 5, looking at the guys skating with him, Alex Killorn has 4 points in his last 3 games, and he also had two against Vancouver 6 days ago. He's on the
105.
wing. He's on the wing with Stamkos minus 105 for a point. Very reasonable.
That's nice. That is pretty nice there.
This is why I bet the team total to try to not sink too much into this, but there are some really interesting names. That price is pretty nice.
Well, all of this talking is only just, it's all just stats for your team total bet right there. So makes
Um,
sense.
Similar with Hannafin and Anderson, you should find Braden Point in a play for yourself today because he killed a parlay I would have won on Monday, and he's sure to bounce back with the point. So there's a little freebie for you.
I was considering that being like the same game parlay. Stamkos over 2.5 shots, and Braden Point to get a point. Something like that. If you can do those same game parlays, could be very nice. Point had two against Vancouver last time.
Yeah, that is nice. It's tough. Caesars has seemingly got rid of points, so it's either Bet365 or Fliff that you would have to do that. I'm looking forward to having access to Bet365 soon. I think it's coming in a couple
He's
months.
plus
So
132 for a power play point. I mean, I know normally power play points we're talking like plus 200 and stuff, but you see Stamkos is minus 110, Kucherov is minus 105. I mean, points if you're just looking over the last 10 games uh, involved on those power play points, pretty much as those two guys are, and plus 132. I just think that looks good when you look at the other two guys' prices. Figure he could very easily be involved in their power play point.
yeah, I like it. I realize it's 12:50, so we got to jump to the last game.
Yeah, let's do
Dallas, San Jose. I definitely think there's a couple good angles here. Let me quickly paint a picture of mine, and I know you're looking at a couple names. I did another team total. I did Dallas to score 4 in regulation, which was plus 118. Main reason there was start of the year, start of 2023. I mean, they kind of had a little funk, 2 or less goals, and I think 4 of their first 5 games. They've turned it on last 2 with 9 goals against some pretty. I mean, Vegas and Calgary scoring 9 goals against those defenses is pretty impressive. So certainly see a shift in momentum coming. Reimer's in net, or Reimer, I don't know how you pronounce it, but he has not been great lately. Almost, I think, 29 goals allowed in his last 6 or 7. He's played Dallas twice this year, let in 4 both times. So, and the Sharks are letting up the most goals at home right now, last 10 at 4.4. So I like the Stars to keep it rolling.
Yeah. That goes kind of right into my favorite play from this game, assuming everything is staying the same with the Stars as it has been. Sagan point. I think it was minus 128. He's been on the centering the top line with Robertson and Pavelski as Hintz has been out, and he has a point in 4 straight, 5 points in that span. That's where I would go. That's where I'm looking here. I just think if he's 3 straight away games, if he's still just on that top line with those 2 guys tonight, and just how Sharks have been letting up goals, I'm playing that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great play.
Mm-hmm.
Pavelski against his former team, 3 goals in his last 4. And he's hit his shots in all 3 of those games he scored. So obviously I like Dallas to score, so why not Pavelski to get in on the fun?
Yeah, and makes me like Sagan.
Yeah.
Let Pavelski score off of a pass from Sagan. Let Pavelski shoot and Sagan get a rebound and put it in. If Sagan's on that top line, I'm locking in his point, and I don't even hate an option of playing because Robertson's going to probably be at 1.5 points, I imagine. But Pavelski and Sagan to be involved together could always be a look if you prefer going plus, trying to find plus money. But yeah, that's a look for me. And even his shots look nice on the road. He was not shooting at all this season, but he has started hitting his line a bit recently, and on the road looks a tiny bit better than at home. And he's plus money again, top line. So if you're gonna try to find a price that looks good, his is a little bit better just because of typically he's not as consistent, but the opportunity is there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're bang on with the Sagan. Assuming Hintz is out, you just poke around those 3, Robertson, Pavelski, and Hintz against San Jose. They were involved in a lot of goals, the 2 meetings so far this year. Hintz had a point in both games. Pavelski had 5 points. Robertson had 4. So, yeah, I really like this Sagan look.
Yeah, I might do shots as well, plus 115. I know his chart is disgusting when you look at it overall, but you almost just have to ignore everything but these the opportunity from these last few games, which is just there. And he's been pretty good. So that's tempting as well. 100% I'm locking in that point though. hints out.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think we got to move to best bets. We clearly got lost in some passionate plays along the way.
Sorry, guys. That's kind of our thing is we spew out all of this information, but yeah, let's move on to the next part.
Best bets. I mean, it's those team totals probably for me, just trying to keep it simple and take away the players that need to be involved. So Tampa and Dallas each to score 4. I really like, and I'm very big on Kadri today as well.
Yeah, I already just talked about it, so I don't need to. Sagan point with hints out, and to Foley, his shots I think are and equally good look as Kadri, like both of them. Um, to Foley is a little bit more juiced, but yeah, I like it enough that I'm okay with that. I didn't get to talk about him briefly. I might pair one of my looks is Timo over 3.5 at home. He's been great at home at that line. He had a couple down games, so he got a bump down from his 4.5 line. But I don't really hate it against Dallas here, and I think that could be a parlay piece today. But let's move into the pick and play of the day because we
Yeah,
need to touch on it a bit. Chabot, um, as fast as I can go through this, he's back at home after missing a couple games at his line. Um, he had 4 attempts last game, got 2 on net, but I like this matchup against Pittsburgh a little bit better to get some more attempts. They can give up shots to defensemen, shots overall, and he's hit this. If I'm remembering, like 6 of 8 or something like that. He's hit a decent amount against Pittsburgh, at least 3 straight with 3
I
shots
think
on goal.
8 of his last 10
8
against
of
them.
his last 10. Okay, beautiful. So I'm liking Shabbat here. There should be power play chances. Maybe he gets a couple extra attempts on the power play there, but I like trusting some guys to rebound after a couple bad games in a nice spot, and he was plus 105, which is great. So
Yeah, plus I think it's another, with Josh Norris coming back, I I'm not too worried about Shabbat's role changing at all as the top shooting defenseman on Ottawa. So yeah, I definitely like that. I know you found that on Pickett last night before you even went to bed. So thanks to Pickett for the line shopping saves you a lot of time. Uh, it's plus 105. I'm not sure if it's still there, but that's a great price.
yep. All right.
Yeah, thanks everybody. 5 game slate. I would love to win more bets than I lose. That would be just wonderful. So hoping today's the breakthrough. But thanks for joining us, and we'll be back on Monday.
Yeah. Hope you took down notes. Good luck, guys.